Well, nothing to see here. Move along. Move along. I'm Alan Ng. I'm Zorianna Kit, and today on Film Threat Reviews, we review Welcome to Chechnya, which is on HBO Max. A group of activists risk their lives fighting for LGBTQ plus rights in Chechnya. Directed by David France. We actually saw this at Sundance a year ago when we actually went to a film festival. Very powerful documentary. What did you think of Welcome to Chechnya?
Yeah, very powerful. I do have to agree with you on that. What's fascinating to me is that this doc is the very first documentary, I think. Well, it's the first documentary that made the Vfx Oscar Shortlist, because virtually, not everyone, but I think there are 23 people in this movie. Their faces are disguised with another person's face. So there was a VFX face replacement done to protect the identity of all the activists, the victims who were fleeing LGBT persecution in Chechnya, their families, those helping them to escape. And it was done so seamless. Like, it's not something you can really tell. And then there is the reveal when our main character decides to stage a press conference to announce the horrific treatment he's been through and the crimes that were committed to him or against him. And we see his face morph from the disguised face of someone else to the real person's face. And that was just, it was shocking, but it was, I mean, it was just that aspect alone, never mind the story, which is compelling and thrilling and all that sort of stuff, but just that whole VFX aspect was incredible.
Yeah. You know, I didn't realize it was happening until that moment. Yeah, I'm like, whoa, this is like a scroll moment. I mean, it's pretty creepy, but yeah, he's just sitting there at a press conference about to blow the whistle on these atrocities being done to the LGBT community in Chechnya, and then all of a sudden his face changes.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, now I'm starting to remember what everyone told me about this film.
Yes. And frankly, I feel like this could be very well a new way of telling documentaries that require the filmmaker to protect certain people, because in the past we've had them we've had these talking heads filmed like in the dark, or the lighting is they're shaded so we can't see their face, and their voice is changed and it sounds kind of robotic, so that's been how documentary filmmakers have protected their subjects. But with face replacement, the way this was done, which I read about afterwards because I was so fascinated by it, they approached the LGBT community here in the States and recruited volunteers to lend their faces.
Yeah.
And they transferred the face of one on another, but the movements and the reactions, and so the smiling and the blinking and all of that stuff was identical to the original person. And so you got the full emotion. Like, you get to experience exactly what the subject matter is experiencing without having that person to be cloaked in a like somewhere in a dark corner.
Yeah, it's a blurred short face. Or I mean, weirdly, this is all available on TikTok. So I mean, it's just incredible. And again, I was completely fooled up until that moment. I don't know if they gave a warning up front or not. I don't remember there being a warning.
I don't remember there being one. I mean, I had no idea. I mean, maybe there was one and I missed it somehow. I don't know. I was not prepared. And it's so funny because me being Eastern European, I'm Ukrainian and it's my first language. I was watching this film going like, you know, some of these people just don't look Eastern European. Like, they just don't have that traditional Eastern European face structure. And now I understand completely why that has it, because that was the only thing that I kept thinking was just like they just didn't quite look Eastern European. And to me, having grown up in that kind of community, I know there's a look.
Yeah. Well, we should probably get to the actual subject of the documentary. Yeah, I saw a film. It was before Sundance, which actually played Sundance last year, called, I believe it was As the Dancer Dances, and that took place in Georgia, in that area, and they kind of touted themselves as being the most open to the LGBTQ plus community, and but from what that film showed and what the filmmaker showed is they say it, but they don't really mean it, and this is something that really struck me about, we think things are pretty bad here, but you go to other countries, especially the Russian, Eurasian countries, the Middle Eastern countries. It's not. It's a lot worse. And in Chechnya, as we find out, they're gathering, they're arresting, torturing anyone they suspect of being gay, whether they can prove it or not. And that's kind of the whole conceit of this entire documentary is this is going on, and for some reason the rest of the world doesn't care.
Well, I mean, even their leader, the Chechen leader, he's not the president. I don't know what his exact title is. But he calls it like it's an ethnic cleansing that they're doing. I mean, he literally says that he's going to cleanse the blood of LGBTQ Chechens. I mean, there's footage of him saying that, and he completely idolizes Putin and reports to him, and they're working closely together. And again, growing up in the Ukrainian community, this type of Soviet mentality of gaslighting the people, of saying, no, we don't do any of this stuff. We don't. We're amazing. We love everyone. We don't object, and then secretly behind closed doors engaging in horrific atrocities. Like, that's something that my community has always battled. We always knew the truth of what was happening to Ukrainians by the Soviet community. And this is exactly what's happening here. Like, not much has changed. It's still the Soviet stance of, oh no, it's all good. It's all good. And then you see this horrific footage shot either by the activists themselves or somebody with cell phones, where like there are people being killed, raped, tortured, maimed because of their sexual orientation. It is horrible to see this. And I mean, the world should be in an uproar about this. It's awful.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing that bothered me about not the subject matter, but just the fact that this is a film that it's been out well over a year since Sundance. It's been on HBO Max for a couple months now, and yet no one's talking about it. And maybe that conspiracy theory within me thinks it all feels political, and that we're using we're ignoring the gay community abroad for some reason. And I'm just not sure exactly why. I have theories, but I'm not sure exactly why. And that's the most heartbreaking, because these people are literally fighting for their lives. They are Russian activists who are going in there rescuing people out of Chechnya, and at the same time themselves they are targets. And they are and there's that sense that no one's hearing them and no one's coming to their rescue. The cavalry is not coming, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, it was heartening to hear that Canada ended up taking X amount.
44.
44, yeah. And of course, because this documentary was shot under the Trump administration, or during the Trump administration, rather, the U.S. did not take any of them in, and what makes this movie so compelling, in addition to all the other things we said, was there's a thriller-esque aspect of it, as they're trying to get these victims out Chechnya, then ultimately out of Russia. You know, they're sneaking them in through the airport. They're putting them on planes, and you feel tense because you just
They're
want
destroying cell phones and SIM cards.
Yes, exactly. And so it plays like a thriller at some point, except tragically it is real. But but it's like this modern day Underground Railroad situation where they're really like, there is a system that they've put in place, you know, from Chechnya to somewhere in Europe to abroad to Canada to wherever, to get them out. And it really makes you think, you know, how maybe laws should be changed in terms of what constitutes asylum in another country, LGBTQ plus discrimination and the torture that comes with that. And they also target the families of those people as well. There is something to be said by, you know, asylum seekers under that type of persecution. So this movie is also, it's very political because it demands political attention and political action. So there's a lot going on here and a lot to digest, but it's all very interesting.
Yeah, if you go to our review at filmthreat.com, Norm Gidney reviewed it, and that was his comment. It was, this movie is going to compel you to action, and sadly, it's the viewer that feels the need to act because no one else is doing it. You know, I'm saying it again. These stories are out there, and no one's doing a thing. And I think that's the only hope right now. These filmmakers have, these victims, these activists have, is just normal people like us hearing their stories and doing something about it, being able to stand and be bold about that.
Yeah.
And I guess that's ultimately what documentaries are. And you know, it's the way to get to the people without having to get through some bureaucratic governmental filter.
It's true. So, I mean, Blackfish was so instrumental in changing SeaWorld's way of doing business, using orca whales for show. That, you know, the power of a documentary can have lasting impact, positive change towards the future. I think just more people need to see this movie in order to be able to spring into action.
So it sounds like you were touched by the documentary. You were compelled to you know, compelled to want to do something about it. I'm gonna guess you gave it 8.5.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.5. It's from a socio-political aspect, the film's very interesting, but also I do have to say it is groundbreaking from this VFX standpoint of this is a genius way of telling a documentary without losing emotion or losing losing some connection to the characters because of that face replacement technology. And from that alone, for someone who's interested in how filmmaking develops and technology, this documentary is a must, just from that standpoint, just to see how that's done to great, amazing effect. So yes, 8.5. I also feel that you know, I mean, it's been a while since you've seen this film, but it's great to know that like a year later, you are still moved by it and really do want people to jump into action, much like I do too. And I think you gave it an 8.5 as well.
I gave it an 8, only because maybe there are a few dead spots, but to see people in action, to me, that's really the heart of this film, is to see people who are just willing to put it on the line there. And you know, I think for us, you know, sometimes we put stories like this on the back burner because it doesn't suit us politically, when it really just should motivate us, because they're human beings, we're human beings, and we're all in this together, and we need to be there for one another. And I think that's the real reason you need to see Welcome to Chechnya. So with that, be sure to like, subscribe, let us know what you think of Welcome to Chechnya. It's on HBO Max and can be seen right now. So with that, let's get out of here.